Welcome to another episode of Season 2 of On a Water Break, the podcast where we talk about everything you and your friends are talking about at rehearsal on a water break. I'm Whitney, and I'm here with the amazing guys behind Jeff Hurr Designs and some of the most amazing props you've ever seen.
8 off the mat and go. Welcome to On a Water Break, the podcast where we talk everything marching arts.
Everyone, bring it in. It's time for a water break.
Hey everyone, we have someone super exciting hanging out on the sidelines with us today, but before we get to the main guest, I just knew this person would have to join me for this interview. It's the amazing David Duffy.
Hey, how's it going, everybody?
Hey, David.
That's the most applause I've gotten in quite some time.
Duffy, can you tell us the story of how you met Jeff and how you know the amazing Jeff Hurr?
Yeah, that's a great story, actually. So I was hired to design for West Johnston in North Carolina the very first year that it opened, and then with the promise of like possibly moving down there. So the second year of the school that was open, the principal hired me as the assistant band director. There were hardly enough kids in the program to have two directors, but she was so pro fine arts and pro band that she hired me, and I had to move down to North Carolina. So the band director at the time, Lance Britt, said, "Hey, I'll send somebody up to move you." And then the person that came up to move me from Virginia to North Carolina was Jeff Hurr, and that's how we met. Like that's the initial meeting of Dave Duffy and Jeff. You were weren't you the band booster president?
In the second year, not in the first.
Yeah. So the year that I came down there, you were getting ready to be the band booster president, which is So that's how we met, and then we started designing, and we were designing actually the shirt that Jeff has on right now. I know this is like a podcast, you can't see it, but he has the H2O shirt on. So we were doing a show called H2O, The Properties of Water. And we wanted to kind of like have these water walls, kind of like what Kennesaw Mountain used, but like I think cooler. And so we were talking about how to make these things, and Jeff was like, he literally made like the first one, and we went over to see it, and Jeff was like, "Hey, well, maybe I'll just like we'll put some aluminum things right here, make it artistic, whatever." I was like, "Okay, weld as in like aluminum?" He's like, "Yeah." It's like you can make this like. So it's not like 1,000,000 trillion pounds. He was like, "Oh yeah, sure." So we went to eat somewhere, and then we came back like an hour later. It was me and Michael Townsend, and we came back, and Jeffrey had fixed this thing, and I was like, "Okay, this is a game changer. Like you can do that." And so it was like a band parent that could do these things. Well, mostly at every time everybody was using like PVC and trying to like duct tape everything together, and the next thing you know, we're like got these like water walls that are like the coolest thing ever, that everybody was like, "Ooh, yeah." I think we won that. I think we won our shows that first year simply because the water walls were so cool. But that's it. That's the story. And then after that, Jeff Hurr just became artistic Jeff Hurr, aka West Johnston band parent. They could make incredible things.
Sure did. Duffy, I don't think I knew that Jeff moved you to North Carolina. I don't think I knew that.
Yeah, I just thought about that because when we were talking about like how we met, I was like, well, you know what? Like Jeffrey literally loaded my IKEA. I had like IKEA things I hadn't even like opened up in my house, like opened up and where my mom lived, and so I like it was pulling stuff off the carport. Remember, Jeff? I was like, yeah, load that up. Let's take that.
Duffy, are those your notifications that are going off?
I don't know how to turn those off.
Oh my goodness.
I know. I'm sorry.
Somebody help this guy.
Somebody. I don't know how to do it.
So, Jeff, how are you connected to the West Johnston program? People might not know about your daughters.
Yep. Well, it started with Lance Britt, who was kind of our Harold Hill for band. And he had gone to the middle school that Katie, my middle daughter, Chris's wife, was going to. And he was pitching the idea of the kids going into marching band in high school. So sure enough, she came home that night and said, "I want to do color guard." And sure enough, so it was off to the races. we had no clue. Leanne and I, my wife, had no clue what band was about. She started sewing flags and cooking for the band. That was 8 years of doing that with 2 daughters, Katie and Lily. And then I was doing props. My work at the time was kind of slow. And, Duffy, you referenced me coming to pick you up. In that second year, when I was BPA president, I calculated that I had contributed in excess of 2,000 hours to the marching band, which is a full 40-hour week for 52 weeks, or 50 weeks anyway. So I was over the top, and so was Leanne and the rest of the family. Emily, our oldest daughter, who is a few years older than Katie, couldn't believe that we were as into it. I love these dings that we're hearing. So Emily couldn't believe, that we were as exuberant about band as we were. But Katie kind of got it started, and then my work being slow, I got in and started building props. And in the early days, it was mostly steel. Then it evolved into aluminum, and we almost never used wood and PVC, which is a material of choice for a lot of groups. But and Duffy showed up, and he had this goal, this mission of going to the moon. Everything was going to be big. It was going to be dramatic. And the nice thing about Duffy is that he's telling a story, and he's sharing that with the kids. And Leanne and I really kind of fell in love with the idea of the fact that that Duffy was teaching our kids, not just music, but here are all these life lessons. And Lance Britt was the same way, So we got on board right away. But as you guys know, it's probably 20% or maybe 25% of a band parent group that does all the work, and the other ones stay behind and, sit in the car waiting for their kids to get done with rehearsal. And I feel for those parents because they miss so much of, what their kids are doing. And Leanne and I saw this as an opportunity to kind of capture an extra 4 years of our kids' lives that otherwise they're going off and doing their own thing, and we'd be kind of left out of it. So, Katie did it for 4 years, and Lily followed right behind that, and we wouldn't trade it for the world. It was, a boatload of work, but it was well worth it every step of the way. And I attribute Duffy, who I think of as my Obi-Wan Duffy. He's the one that, is the mentor that got me started. And as it turns out, it kind of opened the door for me to doing sculpture. Because before that, all my stuff was more practical, furniture, trade show displays, houses, framing houses and doing trim and boxing and siding and cabinetry.
Cool sconces.
What's that?
Cool sconces.
Yeah. And then it became, in the 90s, it was mostly steel, furniture and accessory kind of things. And then the 2000s hit, and Katie was off in the band, and Duffy showed up, and boom, it was off to the races. And so now, whenever we're not producing props, which is not often, it's about a month and a half of downtime in September and October. That's what I'm doing, is building sculpture. So thank you, David.
Oh, yeah. I mean, some people might say like I abused you, or I don't know. It's just that you were able to make all those dreams and all those things come to life. You know what I'm saying? Like, and again, it actually happened. Sorry, it actually happened the year before I even moved to West Johnston, because we were doing Winter Guard in my independent Winter Guard that Whitney marched. But the year before that, the study, we were only around the first year we were A class. Then the first year of West Johnston was the first year of Katie and Jeff. They were in Winter Guard, but they were kind of like a little sister group to the study when they were in open class. And Jeff actually was the one that helped like figure out the whole like water thing that we did. Like, that was like for way back in its time in 2003 was like, what? I mean, WGI lost its mind when people were pouring water on Adam Dalton, you know what I'm saying? And like the whole phobia thing. And that was Jeff. Jeff like figured all that out simply by me going like this. Hey, Jeff, I don't even really know you, but can you figure that out? And it just got figured out. And it was like, and that's kind of the way, I don't know, there's kind of the way the whole relationship kept going all the way through those Wes Johnson years. It was like, okay, well, this is the problem and this is what it needs to be. Can you just figure it out? And then I would turn around and next thing you know, Jeff had figured it out. And then Chris was along and all of a sudden, next thing you know, Chris had just figured it out and I didn't have to worry about it. And so, yeah, I mean, some people might say that that's like parent abuse. I don't know, but.
Well, if I could interject here, that you didn't just abuse me, you abused everybody.
Yikes.
No, I'm serious.
It's like a roast? Are we roasting me right now? Like, wow. Okay.
Just kidding. It's actually the roast of David Duffy. This is not about Jeff and Chris.
There's going to be like 3,000 people that are going to join this call in a minute. I'm like, oh, God, here we go.
I got something to say. No.
Yeah, oh, my God.
No, we thoroughly enjoyed, the whole thing, and we got to travel with the band and, support them in ways that were meaningful to us. Got to go to the Macy's parade and march on the route and march the Rose Bowl parade. How many band parents get to do that? I know, a boatload, but no, we had a great time. And every time I get the chance to meet up with band parents that are coming to pick up props, they're just as youthful and exuberant about band as we were when we were first getting started. What a cool thing that we got to support these kids. And now when Chris and I and his brother Sean and Katie, who works with us full time, we get to build props and be able to support these kids that are having these kind of life-changing experiences, from their adolescence, and all of a sudden they're getting to think outside the box. So again, back to Lance and to you, David. Thanks for opening that door for us.
Yeah.
Chris, let's get your 32 count life story. So, Stephen, if you're ready, I don't even know if he's here anymore. Stephen, is there a Stephen? Okay. So let's do Chris's 32 count life story. You'll get 8 counts and you're in.
All right. So basically, I followed my brother around when he was in marching band. I was in 3rd grade. I went to West Carteret High School. And then we were like the best band in North Carolina. And then Wes Johnson came along with Duffy, and we started clashing. And I heard from my instructor that Duffy was out for us, and we were going to clash. And then after high school, I went to Boston. I worked with props at Boston. And then the next year, Katie marched Boston, and then we met, got married, and that's what I do now.
He quit but he didn't quit because he's got 2 engineering jobs in addition to working here with Jeff Hurr Designs. But he does most all of the design and engineering. He makes the cut lists and does CAD drawings and communicates with the customers and takes that load off of me, which used to be all me doing it. Now I just get to build stuff, which is my dream. So thank you, Chris.
Nice.
Yeah.
Chris, I'm not sure that I knew that you marched Boston.
Well, so I didn't march. I was a woodwind player, and I had some friends that were marching Boston, and they were homesick. And I happened to know the tour director at Boston, and she was like, "Why don't you come travel? We've got some props." And so now I recommend every drum corps do this. It's like find woodwind players that are adamant, love band, and let them try. They'll pay money to do it. I paid $300 at the time.
Yeah.
But I got to travel for the summer with the drum corps and go to every show and live the drum corps life. Just didn't have to rehearse. It was awesome. And then I did that for 2 years, and then that was 04 and 05. and Katie marched Boston in 06, we were always crossing paths. Mm-hmm. And then in college, we met, and then I started teaching at West Johnston with her, and she told me her dad makes props, and I was like, yeah, I'm sure he does. Every band dad makes props. And
then, like this guy.
Yeah, and then it turned out, no, he makes them for the drum corps, like for cadets, and I was like, oh, okay, let me go check these out, and and then I started working the shop part time, and Katie and I got married, and then I was like, I got tired of the engineering work, and was like, I'm going to do this full time. This is a fun business. It's something I love. If I hadn't been an engineer, I probably would have been a band director. But it's a way that I could stay in the activity, but still use that side of my brain, the mathematical side of my brain. So, so it's kind of the best of both worlds now. And
that's awesome.
I live right behind Jeff. So it's a short walk to the shop, and
that's awesome. Jeff, are you ready to do your 32 count life story?
Can I interject something? I think we need to go back to the hashtag fake news of West Carteret and West Johnston. that was in Chris's 32 counts of fake news or something. There was never a clash. West Carteret was a thing, and then West Johnston stole its crown in the story.
All right, yeah.
There's a clash.
Fact checking by David Duffy.
It might have been on y'all's end, not on ours.
Steven, are you ready for Jeff's 32 counts? Okay.
I had a really creative mother. My dad was also creative. All my siblings have 2 older brothers and 1 younger sister. They were very creative. I've been making things since the early days. And when I say that, I mean maybe 10 years old. Started out framing houses, lived with an architect when I went to design school at NC State. And he was another one of those mentors like Duffy. And just had an opportunity to work on wood framing of houses, cabinetry, trim, furniture, wood furniture, then metal furniture, and then that slowed down. Then Katie got into band, and here we are. For me, it's about, I don't know, on average, probably 80 hours a week of production in the shop, whether it's on props or some other project, but it's just this need to be creative and making things. And so I fully suspect that I probably won't ever retire. I'll always be making something as long as I'm physically able. And thus far, I've been blessed with, a body that does what I want it to do.
Love that. You took advantage of your 32 counts, and I think you did like 164 counts, but that's okay. You can have as many counts as you want.
I'm not the musician type like Chris.
I saw him he was like, okay, that's your cue. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and once Jeff and Chris have shown the parents how to put the props together, we'll set up at the opener. Be right back with What Are We Doing in Gush and Go?
Hey, this is Christine Ream.
And Chris Green.
Guard Closet was founded as a consignment business in 2000. Since then, it has grown to include winter guard, band, percussion, and other genres.
We can help you with custom flag and costuming designs.
Our consignment inventory has plenty of great looks for your color guard, drumline, and marching band.
Pay it forward. When you purchase consignment, you help other programs. Last year, we sold over 400 sets of consignments and returned over $125,000 in payments to our consigners for their sales.
Additionally, Guard Closet offers custom and pre-designed costumes, flags, floors, and formal wear, full or partial show writing, educational programming, and other services.
Max out your rehearsal time and set up a microsite for easy student ordering for shoes, gloves, and other equipment.
The Guard Closet team is here to help you get everything you want and need for your season. Check us out at guardcloset.com and follow us on social media.
Chris, do you have a gush and go? Anything you guys want to talk about?
I mean, we're just excited for DCI finals. We're going to go, like, we've decided to make we never went to any shows, so we're now making it an annual thing to go to DCI finals, so we can see some props. We did props for 10 groups this year, eight of the top 12. So yeah, we're excited to go see, as many as we can, and just take a break too. It's like, we don't have the time to do it, but we're going to take the time because we think it's exciting for us. We love the activity. So, it's what we enjoy. Like, we look forward to DCI season and watching all the shows because we've been involved in it since November of last year. So,
right.
Yeah.
Jeff, will you tell us which drum corps you guys did props for this year?
Boston, Bluecoats, Cavaliers, Crown, Scouts,
Colts,
Blue Stars,
Spirit.
We're missing somebody.
Battalion was an open class. Phantom, yeah.
Yeah. And the beauty of that is we get to work, like the early days with Duffy, and even today we still work with Duffy on various high school projects. But, we get to work with some of the most talented people in the industry. And that's a real boost for us, to get to hang out with, some of these people.
Yeah, I think what I love about it is, like I said, in November, we're getting the calls about, like, hey, do you think this is a possibility? And then as the conversation goes on, like, we know where everybody's going to end up, what the final thing is, because it's like, it needs to be a part of the prop, or it needs to evolve throughout the season. And so we've gotten the lay of the land of where it's going to end.
You know where everybody's going to end up? Like, they've already given you the placements.
Yeah, I know exactly that. No, but knowing, knowing how the show is going to progress, and knowing where we're, knowing that Crown is going to come out with the flame, all those types of things, like, you got that, you know where we're going to end up, kind of thing.
Spoiler alert! So we should all just come to you guys for the hot goss.
That's right.
What's funny is that usually I get to see the Hurrs somewhere around the 4th of July. And so I go there and we hang out and we talk about it. And so things I haven't sussed themselves out. The one thing I was going to ask about was I was like, really? Like, y'all didn't make those Phantom props to spin? And it's so funny. And then then next thing you know, it's like, shabam, they spin. And I'm like, yes. Yeah, that would be my gush and go, is Phantom regiments, the spinning cubes, whatever. Those are so awesome. Like, every time I see it, it just it makes me giggle and smile. And again, they're just spinning cues, but it's one of those great moments of music and energy and what the core's doing. And then they start spinning and you're like, oh, that's cool. Yeah. I don't know. Just makes me smile. That one makes me smile.
Yep.
Yeah.
Jeff, do you have a gush and go, or is DCI finals your something that you're excited about?
Oh, definitely excited about that. And like Chris said, we don't have time to go, but we're making time. We've got 25 bands that we're doing props for, and I'm afraid we probably are going to disappoint a few with the timing of getting them delivered. But we've got to take a little bit of a break, because when you're working 80 to 90 hours a week, it's time for a break. But go ahead.
Do you want to let them know right now, who should be expecting their props late? Like, you can just tell them now.
We've got 9 groups left to finish before August. So
okay, well, if you want to say any names, we can just tag them.
No.
Does their area code start with a 7? Most of them do. I better get off this phone call.
No, I guess one of my things about band, the way this thing is going, I love the how creative drum corps has gotten. It's gotten away from the real regimented, uniformed, militaristic look. and it's gotten way more way more artistic. And to me, they're pushing the boundaries, which I love being a part of. I remember back in the early days, Duffy wanted me to build a 30-foot tall tree because the year before somebody had a 32-foot or 30-foot tall clock tower at BOA finals. Well, somebody got hurt apparently when they were disassembling that at the end of the show. Well, I tried building this 30-foot tall, 32-foot tall tree, and it just wasn't realistic. And I went back to Duffy and said, no, we just can't do it. So we ended up with a 22-foot tall tree. Well, to me, the football field is so big that it needs big props. It needs a big production, and loud music. That's one of the things I like about drum corps. It's so dramatic, but it seems like out of safety concerns that people are, trying to cut back a little bit. And that concerns me, but I also realize that with things like Troopers, Oil Derrick, and Crown's Mount Olympus, those are things that we definitely are concerned about the safety of the kids. And we make sure that we do our best to make sure that it's safe, for everybody that's going to be handling it. But so far, to my knowledge, nobody's been hurt with things that we've made. So I keep wanting to do like Duffy would do, it's kind of go to the moon.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. The biggest thing about and challenging Jeff to do that is that it's always the scope and scale of it. The football field is so big of a stage. And I think that's like one of the things at a very early little Dave Duffy age that I kind of learned from Michael Rayford and Carl Lowe. It's just like how to treat things as a stage as you look at it. And it just, when I got to work with them at Magic of Orlando, it was like such a eye-opening experience. And it's so funny because now Michael Rayford is like, does the stuff, some stuff with the Blue Coats. And I know Jeff's gotten to meet him and work on that side of the thing. It's just really cool, like how that, all those, to say what Chris is saying, all those like creatives. And I think all those people that I know, they all have like different ways of getting there. And it's just, that would be the one part that of like, if I could be a fly on the wall at the Hurrs, like to listen to all the different creative people, like how they get there. I just think that's also something that, like, I guess maybe that's another podcast or whatever. It's just like talking like how people get to their zero, how they get to their ground zero, you know what I'm saying? And because everybody does it differently. And so I think that's cool.
Yeah. I mean, that's the exciting thing is like, we get the calls from Michael Rayford or Andy Toth or, Keith Potter. And it's like, they're all creating amazing shows, but it's all different. And working directly with them, it's like, I start to know, okay, it's Keith. This is the direction we have to go. This is Michael. Like, I have to be very particular about what we're doing because he is very particular about what it's going to end up like. And so, there's just a different, but it all comes out and it's all amazing and it's all different and it's all fresh. And that is the fun part of it. It's seeing how people think. I mean, definitely outside the box of the way I think. I'm like geometric and like, how am I going to pack this in the truck? That's what I need to figure out. How is a kid going to push this out onto the field? Like, we can make a greenhouse, but how is this thing going to collapse and fit on your truck every day and be loaded 3 times a day? And, those are the things that I think about.
And that's the one thing that you guys were always so great about. Like I always tell people, I was like, hey, just so you know, like the Hurrs, they're gonna figure that out. They're not because there was plenty of times where Jeff was like, we can't fit that on a truck like that. It's not possible. And I'm like, what do you mean it's not possible? He's like, it's not possible. And I'm like, okay, well, what is possible? You know what I'm saying? Because that in my mind, I don't even think about that. Like I just go, okay, well, it'll get there somehow. I don't know,
Yeah.
But luckily there are people like you guys that like think that through and instead of like, whatever, 75-foot tree, I don't care.
Just attach it to the bus. It's fine. Just pull it behind the bus. It's fine. Duffy, do you have a what are we doing?
What are we doing?
What are we doing?
Is there anything?
I would just if it's going to deal with props, I would say this: like, don't just have a prop just to have it. It needs to be make sure it's part. It's part of the design holistically. That would be the thing and a lot of people get this prop and they think and the prop's going to it's going to solve their problem, and it's like, no, it doesn't solve your problem unless it's well designed into what you're doing. I'm saying, and there's like a reason for it. And so that would be the thing that I would would say, what are we doing? Is just make sure that it's and again, that's not up to the prop designer, it's not up to that person to make that part. They're going to build the prop. You've got to make it be a part of the show. It's not the prop's fault. It's just doing what people have planned it to do, if that makes sense. And the last little thing is you solving any problem is like, shouldn't DCI already be over? I'm just saying. Like, can't we make the season shorter? Is there any DCI person listening? Sorry. I'm just saying. I'm a band director. Yeah. Listen, I want my kids. I want them to have a break. And I know school's starting to start, global warming, even if that is fake news or whatever. I mean, I don't know. I just think the drum corps are great. And do we really need all these extra weeks? And so
I agree. Honestly, like when I was at San Antonio, like a lot of the top 7 or so, I was like, is this DCI finals? Like we could just call it a season here. And that, that was the 20th of July. It was like,
and whatever else they have to give, all those designers that are drum corps designers, I mean, they're all so incredible. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, if you told them they had 2 less weeks, they would still get the group to where they need to be, given the less time. Scott Chandler will still make the Blue Devils be fabulous, even if he has 2 weeks left. Michael Townsend will still bring you the best color guard in known creation, do you know what I'm saying, with 2 less weeks. And, same with the horn people and the drum people and all those people, and then there's 2 less weeks of travel and housing. And, I know that's such a headache, and it's easy to be an armchair DCI, whatever I am, but that would be my one thing. It's like, if there's anybody listening, if you need to send this to anybody, it's like, please, like, come on. So there you go. That's my what are we doing?
What are we doing? Chris, do you have a what are we doing?
I don't know. Like, kind of going on with what Duffy's saying about, the props of, it's like, we can do a lot. We can do most anything, but you have to know what you want. And we can help you get there, but you can't just, like Duffy said, expect us to come up with all the functionality. We're going to ask you the questions. Like, do you want people to climb on it? Does it need to be easy to push? But there's a lot of groups that aren't thinking about, it's going to take 2 kids to push this, or it's going to take 4 kids to push this and manipulate it. And it's like, a lot of kids are frustrated with having to push furniture around, but, like somebody told me, it's not our fault that it's that way. It's, you got to teach those kids the proper way, how to move these props and do those things. We try to make it as easy as possible, but, it's still, it's a new experience. It's like, we push it, the 3 of us in the shop every day, and it's easy for us. We know how they move and manipulate, but teenagers, 14, 15-year-olds, like, you got to teach them how this thing functions. So, but, go ahead, Duffy.
And if I may interrupt, usually the kids that are pushing the props, if they're extras, are usually maybe not the
top tier. Just say it.
Top,
they're not the top tier kids in the band. They're the freshmen. They're the alternates.
They're going to need a little extra love. Yeah.
Yeah.
And by love, I mean gentle pushing to do it right. And by that, I mean maybe some yelling.
Well, and that was like, I think for Jeff, going back to meeting Duffy, like that's the great thing about Duffy is Duffy, like the thing we talk about often in the shop is it has to work 100% of the time.
Yes.
It can't work 75% of the time. And so we have to constantly think like, can a 14-year-old do this and it not fail?
Yes.
Like that's a realistic thing that we have to think through. And you can want the world, but there's also there's downstream effects of how we have to build it and how we have to make it. And then that costs more money sometimes,
Yeah, I'll often say all the time, I'm like, okay, well, this isn't something that's being built for New York City stage, because if that's what you want, there's a whole different price tag on that one.
Right.
A whole different band booster can't afford it price tag on.
Yeah, it's that constant like, okay, we can make it work 100% of the time, but it's not going to be remote control, spinny, do all this stuff. Like, that's not going to happen. You're going to have to we have to simplify some things. Manpower
is needed.
Yeah.
Like the Blue Coats kids, they are pushing those stages all over the field constantly. Like that's just a whole nother layer of production too.
Oh,
like
God.
You have to have somebody that's literally dedicated. If you have moving props, you have to have somebody that's dedicated to just the props.
And
like somebody on staff that's their job.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. There's 32 of those things and they weren't light and they're not we spent a long time just figuring out where the casters were going to be placed so that they could step anywhere on it and not think about it tipping. It was a lot of like, can we get one more half inch? Like we just need a half inch so that they can step and not think about it. And it was a lot of back and forth. And that's the side that other band directors don't see. And they just think, oh yeah, it'll happen. It'll work great. It's like, no. Like that was Michael Rayford on the phone with me and like, take a video of you guys. Can you get 6 people to step on this at one time and it not tip over? No, you can't do that. Okay, then I'll shift the casters a little bit more. So wow. There's a lot that goes into it.
Yeah, that's a lot of moving parts.
Literally.
Yeah.
Jeff, do you have a what are we doing?
I'd say when band directors and corps directors and indoor performing groups too, when the directors come to us, if they come to us early enough, we usually have an easier time to kind of massage through all the iterations to get to that final design. That's to me probably one of the biggest things. But getting to work with some of these fantastic people is just awe-inspiring, I don't want to see props go away, but I'm afraid for the kind of money that people are spending on props. I know that because we came from kind of a relatively poor rural area when we were at West Johnston, and we had to work our butts off to afford props. And there's a lot of groups, I think, that would probably come to us, except that they know that we're out of their league or out of their price range. And I hate that for a lot of groups because we want to help anybody that walks in the door. But it's scary to see how much money some groups are spending. But, back to that point of the way props are used, I think, like Duffy was saying, if you can create energy with the way props are used, and instead of just presenting them and flipping them around and then flipping them back, that's okay. But if you can, have kids climb on them and perform on them in different ways and create kind of a third dimension and assemble them in different, configurations, I think that to me is a good designer's job. And again, we're lucky to be hooked up with a lot of designers that think that way. Phantom's a good example of that. It's not just a prop that moves from here to over here. It's used in a variety of ways, which I think is really creative.
What, Jeff, what are some of your favorite props that you guys have made?
I look back and I think the tree for Rock River Tree at West Johnston, I thought that was, for early on, was a really good one. The H2O props was a kind of a creative challenge and an engineering challenge too, because it had water in between 2 layers of plexiglass. And the first attempt, bulged out and almost broke the plexiglass. But that, and I did props for, back when it was just me, for Cary High School here locally, and they were Easter Island heads. And I thought those
are so cool. Yeah.
Expressive.
Those are very cool. Yeah.
Crown's Stagecoach was another one of my favorites.
Love that one. I remember taking a selfie with that in Lucas Oil. I was like, Helen. Do you know they named her Helen?
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Huh. Awesome. But I think the downside up props for Blue Coats and the tilt props had great energy and created a more 3-dimensional show, which I really related to. But there's I can't think of the others, but there's dozens.
So many
that I would want to include in my portfolio for sure.
Babylon from Santa Clara.
Yeah, Babylon. Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what I like, is something that's so simple. Like, it's such a simple idea, but there's the intricacy that it takes, and the amount of time that we sat and where does each caster have to be so that these things move independently, but then can pull out and free
and nest.
Yeah, there's so many things, but everybody loved that, and that's what I mean. Phantom's prop is that way this year. It's just so versatile.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean,
I think the Phantom props do remind me of the Babylon props a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think there's so many people that we do work with. I think that, if they think through okay, I want to use this for a drum corps, then I can sell it to one of my high school groups, and they can do, and yeah, I already know how it works. I know how many people it takes to push it around. We like to see a prop have many lives, because sometimes we just I can tell you, we don't want to make Mount Olympus again. We don't want to make, a lot of these things again, because it's just, we've done it. We want to do something different. I think the one prop we've made the most is the Blue Coat tilt props. We've made those for probably 7 or 8 groups all over the country. But, now it's okay, let's do something else.
Mm-hmm. Well, is that a portfolio that you have in front of you?
It is. We kept talking about the tree, and there's a picture of Jeff next to the tree.
Yeah.
Massive.
Yeah. And then on the other side of this, notice was the water wall.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you have pictures of everything that you've ever made?
No. Well, I mean, this is Jeff's portfolio that he's got, just kind of all sorts of things. But we're trying to use our website now as the portfolio, so it's we don't have to keep taking pictures, because it's hard. We take pictures in the shop, and it just, when it was finished work, like the tree, it's take a picture of that. It looks great. Mm-hmm. But now when it leaves us, we don't have the time to do the finish work. So it looks kind of bland and sterile. And so then seeing the way they end up is, that's what we want pictures of.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I think I would change with the activity, is that nowadays, since like Chris said, we're not doing the finish work on props. All we do is manufacture it and send it out, and we leave it to the band parents or to the corps to either add, printed vinyl or, painting them. And a lot of them, I think, get underdone. A lot of it ends up just being silver aluminum, and aluminum's a material of choice these days for a variety of reasons. But I would love to see some of these groups get more creative with their finish work.
That's a good. What are we doing?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but again, counterpoint. I mean, Jeffrey, like my favorite prop. That's one of the ones that I was like, come on, mention it. Come on, mention it. Come on, mention it. What is Hendrickson the yarn ball?
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, that prop is like, it's also like what also part of this like episode now is also Where's Waldo. If anybody has seen that ball, does anybody know where that ball is? Please contact Dave Duffy or Jeff Hurr. Please let me know where that is, because it's like I'm Gollum and that's my precious. I want that ball back so bad to use. And we used it for 3 shows. I think we kept joking about that. We're going to keep using this prop until they put us into BOA San Antonio finals. We would just like, but again, the first year we skinned it, we made it look like a yarn ball. We like covered it. Then the next year we painted it and we left it, which was beautiful, like not covered. And we used it like an earth. Like, I mean, it was just the coolest thing. And it kind of like Madison's ball from last year, kind of a knockoff, but like it's kind of like that. And like I know that Cedar Park used it, like it was their son for their Icarus show. Like somebody else used it. If anybody has that ball, I want it.
We really don't know where it is? That's crazy.
No, I really don't. If anybody knows where
Texas.
it is, yeah. Because that prop was, I mean, again, like what Jeffrey's saying, that was not aluminum. Wasn't that steel, Jeff?
Steel, yeah.
Yeah, it was like that was like a ride at Disney World. It was made like a kid had to get hoisted into it. I mean, it was crazy how safe that ball was. But I mean, that ball was beautiful, skinned and not skinned. Like covered and not covered. It really was beautiful. Right. Like so from some of that, Jeff, I just think some of that stuff they all do is so beautiful that it doesn't necessarily. I mean, I get it. I get the finish work, but give yourself credit too. Like the work is so great that y'all do. It is.
Well, thank you.
It's so. That's why what I love about it.
I think that's kind of like your staple too. Like I feel like I can pick out a Hurr design easily because it's probably made of aluminum. Like I feel like it's easier for me, but I know your work now for like 20 years. So, and I've used it many different places. So I don't know. I like that. Like, I'm like, oh, that's Jeff Hurr, like, so I like what Duffy's saying about that.
Well, I also feel like if you watch somebody struggle, like trying to get into the door or getting it through somewhere, it's like, that's not a Hurr prop. It is surely not, because Jeff Hurr and Chris have thought about how this goes through this. I know they have. So if that prop is not getting through, it's like, yep, that's not a Hurr prop. I guarantee you it's not.
There's going to be an interesting one at BOA this year that we did. It'll be fun to watch. I mean, I think it's awesome the way that it has to go through the gate, and then all of a sudden it's going to transform into this whole other thing. If they do it the way that we envisioned it, it'll be awesome.
Did you make a transformer? Is someone doing a transformer show?
It has that feel.
Yeah, it does have that feel. Like, and really, they came to pick it up, and we hadn't tried that feature of it. We knew how we wanted this thing to work, and we said, well, we need to try this before we send it off. And we started taking we took a few pieces out, and then all of a sudden it did exactly what we thought it would. And it was like, oh, this is awesome. It's going to be so much fun to see these long, skinny things roll out. And then all of a sudden they become this massive whole other thing.
Yeah.
So,
I can't even imagine what this is. Is this a potential finalist band?
They've been close. I think they've made finals. Yeah.
Okay.
Duffy will know the group.
Yeah.
Spoilers.
They used to come to Cary Band Days. Don't say it. Don't say it.
I won't.
Okay. No, that's a tribute to the engineering abilities that Chris has. He thinks in 3 dimensions, and he can break it down into panels and different components and render it in CAD. And I love the fact that I can walk away from this business today, and Chris and Katie and his brother Sean will make this thing work, right on. and now their 7-year-old, 8-year-old daughter and 4-year-old son are the heir apparent after they take over. So this thing's got a life of its own that I never imagined.
My 8-year-old went to a theater camp last week on prop building and stage setting.
Wow.
And I was explaining to her what the camp was about, and she said, "So after I do winter guard, can I come work in the shop with you guys?" I said, "Absolutely, you can." Yeah.
Oh,
so cute.
My God, please, dear Lord, let me live long enough to see that. Please. Wow.
Yeah, we need her under your tutelage too, Duffy.
I don't know about that. One was enough, Jeffrey.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, one Katie's enough.
Is she in the room with you right now, Katie?
No.
Love you.
Do you have like a most expensive prop? Which one, or a hardest prop to come up with?
What? North of $50,000 was not for
much.
a prop, but for a drum corps, for example. Marching band, what, 40 something this year?
Yeah, about 42. So
that's just, to me, that's too much. But I'm also on the other side of that. I want to go big too. But
it's like we're only giving them what they ask for. It's not, we're not sitting here saying, "Yeah, let's do more and more and more." It's like they came and said, "This is what we want," and it's like, okay, well, let us think through it. And and some groups can handle that. Some groups can't, and we want to work with all of them. We want to work with West Johnston still. We want to work with Vandergrift. So we want to work on both ends of the spectrum, and because at the end of the day, it's kids having like what I remember being the best experience of high school, where I showed up my freshman year and I had 200 friends and I knew my way around the school, and I wasn't like the other freshmen because they hadn't had that experience of band camp, and it's all I talk about with my friends. Like I just had my 20-year reunion, and it was like, where are the band kids? Like, let's have a band reunion. Let's have a high school reunion. And so it's just it's that part of it that we love. It's like seeing these kids. Like, I wish we could be there when it comes off the truck. There's some bands that take a video of it, and just you can sense the excitement. And that's what it is. Like, that's what we love about it. It's remembering that all of the props I had when I was in high school were painted coroplast on 2x4s. It wasn't what we're doing now, but it was just as great of an experience.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys think about the fact that you've kind of honestly revolutionized band and winter guard and drum corps? Like, do you have any bearing on that? Do you understand that?
I think it's a reality. It's something that we don't dwell on, because for me, it's and I think Chris too. It's not about what we've done. It's what we're getting ready to do. And I love the fact that there's something creative right around the corner that we get to build. And for me, the more artistic, the better. But that's not for everybody. A lot of people just want, a basic stage or, 20 of them. And that's what we do. But more creative, more artistic, the better, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. I mean, it's fun. I think for us, we get if we spend much more than a week doing a project, we get really bored, or we're really frustrated because it's like,
yeah,
you got to come back and do I got to bend this again, or it's the same piece. But I mean, having grown up watching DCI and seeing where it's gone, it's like you can see the delineation of there's where Jeff starts making props, and then 2014, you hit tilt with Bluecoats, and it's like, okay, this is a complete. I remember sitting in the theater on quarterfinals night watching it and going, oh my God, like it's something completely different. And yeah, it's awesome now. And now that's what we get excited for. Like it's harder with marching band to get excited because there's so many and it's everywhere. But DCI, we've got this tour we can follow. Same thing with Winter Guard. Like you have to be on Flow March and watching, the Tucson regional.
Yeah.
It's hard to follow, but like with DCI, we can check it out. It's a little bit easier to follow. So I think that's why we get excited about it.
Mm-hmm. What are some of your favorite like Winter Guard props that you've done?
I think probably anything that we've done for Pride of Cincinnati,
Mm-hmm.
Those were all exciting projects. I think Weight of the World was somewhat more expressive, fun, creative.
Yeah, those were all beautiful.
The anti-gravity, what's the name of that show? That was
Adios.
Yep.
That was fun to figure out.
Mm-hmm.
The balance beam. The balance beam had so many lives with Constitution Drumline, and then moving on to, I think they used it twice, and then it moved on to West Johnston.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And then it got rented to several different groups. I love that. When props get, have a new life and gets, reimagined how it's going to be used. I remember we did.
You don't want any of that stuff to just like end up in the trash. It's like you spent so much time on it. Somebody spent a lot of money on it, and you want to see it have multiple lives. And most of it is like plenty durable enough to make it through many years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe that's another segue for me to say, if anybody knows where that ball is, I really want that ball back. I'm just saying.
Is it going to go in your front yard? Like, is it going in your apartment? Like,
no, I'll figure out something. I'll put it in your front yard. I don't know. Yeah. Sorry.
He'll put it in our yard and just come visit it in the summer.
Yeah.
Do you guys have like a prop graveyard at your house, or?
Yes.
It's like the best ever.
Yeah.
Yes, they do.
It's a lot of West Johnston memorabilia, but like we've got the O. Lloyd from Carolina Crown Show, in 2 years ago, I guess. We've got the balance beam is back there in the back.
Yeah.
We got all sorts of stuff.
Bluecoats, Lou.
Oh yeah, we got the big billboard from Bluecoats show with the wheel.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Yeah, that's sitting in the front yard right now. So if anybody wants it, please.
Do you guys do you resell stuff? Like, do you have a section on your website or anything like where?
Yeah, we like try and get people to send, updated pictures. And if they're trying to sell it, we'll just flag it as being for sale. We don't ask for anything. It's just like, hey, if you're on our site looking for props, or ideas, these are some that are for sale, and contact that person because they'll be happy to sell it to you. So
nice. That's great. Do you guys have any other closing comments before we wrap it up?
Yeah. So what are you up to these days? I know you're deeply into it, you and Duffy both, but I'm just curious what's happening with you guys.
Duffy, you want to go?
I'm at Killeen High School. I'm started over with a band program that is up near Fort Cavazos, which is the nation's largest Army base, which is kind of cool. And it's a smaller band program. I'm having a really good time. We just finished our band camp long days. We're now getting ready to go to our short days, which is weird because I'm sure in Texas, everybody's like, what? But just the way our school is, we really can only do our short days starting now. So we'll only rehearse. This is like Texas band camp is on tomorrow because tomorrow's August 1st. Tomorrow's the day everybody can put drill on the field. So tomorrow's like dun, 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 day, whatever. But yeah, so I'm there. I'm the head band director, which is one of the first times I've done that since I left Virginia, even well before Bassett. So which I'm enjoying. I've taught for a really long time. I've taught for 35 years. This will be my 36th year for teaching. And, every day is an adventure. It truly is an adventure. And so I do appreciate that. And I've done, I feel like I've taught at every level imaginable, and I'm still learning. I'm still learning from the kids. So yeah.
Good for you.
That's awesome.
So it's fun.
I'm currently getting climbed on by my
Yeah,
restless puppies. I live in Austin, Texas still, and get to see your props all the time everywhere. But I'm the color guard director at Round Rock and Austin High School. So that's all I'm doing. It's
Good
just
for
that.
you. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. Yep, that's about it.
A question for you. Are you going to DCI finals or no?
No, I want to, but it's the last couple days of band camp. I'm not teaching anybody. I don't really have any major connections to DCI right now, so we're going to watch from home.
Okay.
Yeah. I would love to go, but it's expensive just to leaving Texas is expensive. And then, buying DCI tickets, all the things. So we're going to watch on that Flow Marching account.
There you go.
And
Good
then I
for
can
you.
say and eat and drink whatever I want in my living room.
and wear whatever you like. Right.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
So I wish I would see you guys there, but yeah, I'm not this year. Every year I'm like, oh, maybe I'll go this year, and then I haven't been in a long time.
Me as well. It's just not. I'm just not able to go. I mean, I wish, but it's just not possible. It would be too crazy to go up there and come right back and be ready to do everything that you got to do to keep.
And it always falls right at the end of band camp for us, and then right into the first day of school. It's always that weekend somehow, which again, to Duffy's point, if we just had it a couple of weeks earlier, it would be easier for more people to go and not be at the end of band camp and the day before school starts. It's a lot. So I would love to, but.
Well, yeah, we used to always go to night beat because it was only 2 hours down the road. But, we finally just said, no, we got to make this a bigger deal. We'd have a party and we'd do a watch party and watch finals. But it's no, let's try this. And so we went, last year was the first year we did it and just loved it. So,
well, I usually see you guys at WGI.
Yeah.
I will always go to WGI. I'll never miss WGI, but DCI is a little bit harder sometimes. Did you guys go to Night Beat?
No,
not this year.
I always want to go, but not easy. But
yeah, I think we would, except that we're going to Indy instead.
Yeah. I mean that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for a great rehearsal. Thank you guys for joining. Thank you, Duffy, for being my little co-host. And where can we find you guys online? Social media, your website. Tell us where we can find you.
So it's jeffhurrdesigns.com, or I think it's at jeffhurrdesigns on Instagram and Facebook. And follow us, check out, and if you need a prop, go onto the website. You can fill out the form. Get in now for WGI because we're going to fill up.
Duffy, what about you? Yeah.
I'm on the Facebook. I don't really do social media. I have an Instagram account, I think.
To creep around. And
I think I do Dave Duffy Designs. I think I have that, but I don't post anything. So yeah. So go to the Hurr website and then tell them that you want to try to reach me. And it's just kind of, especially if you can find the ball. If you can find the ball.
There you go.
And we're talking, it's massive, people. It's big.
Can't miss it.
It's 10 feet in diameter.
Yeah.
Yes.
10-foot sphere. That's a beast.
Yes. But no, I don't have that. And so, yeah. And I think I'm okay with it.
good luck getting in touch with David Duffy.
Yes.
In general.
Yeah, reach out to us, or we'll make the connection for you.
We should just go ahead and put Duffy's email on our website.
Yeah, oh my gosh.
If you find the ball, please email.
Please. That's funny.
All right. Well, one more thing. Don't forget we have our YouTube channel now that has many of our interviews coming out as full video editions. Go and subscribe so you don't miss those. So before you close out of your podcast listening app, go subscribe, write us a review, and share this with a friend. Follow us on social media on a water break, and we'll see you at the next rehearsal on a water break.
The On a Water Break podcast was produced by Jeremy Williams and Christine Reams. The intro and outro music was produced by Josh Lyda. To learn more, visit lydamusic.com. And until next time, thanks for tuning in.